Hey, welcome back to the second in the Ultimate Mustache Styling video series. In the first video we discussed the basics of styling your stache using the water-soluble mustache wax, the kind that comes in a tube. Today we're going to be discussing that other kind of wax, the pomade style of wax. Here's some. Now, the first mustache wax that we talked about is a stiff paste. You put it in and it begins to dry as soon as you start to spread it out through your mustache, and before you know it, it's dried to a very stiff, very rigid consistency. Can sometimes be a little crunchy, so if people pull on it, you kind of have to grab the wax and restyle it. Today we're going to talk about that other kind, the pomade style. Now, pomades are old-fashioned hairdressing. For the most part, they're made of usually a combination of wax and an oil to make it, give it a little softer, more pliable consistency. And they're still around. They've been making a big comeback with hair spiking products and stuff for, for stiff exotic uses. But in the old days, in the 50s, it was what guys used to use to slick back their hair. And some of these products can still be found today if you look around at bigger convenience stores and bigger drugstores. Sometimes you find them in the African hair care section or the ethnic hair care section, but everybody's got hair, and these products have still stuck around. Now, if you're using the water-soluble mustache wax, you're pretty much limited to a very few brands that are specifically mustache wax. If you're going to be using the oily pomade style, you have a little advantage because there's a wide variety of different hair care products that fit into this category. Some of them are very, very light, just used for slicking down, very thin hair. Here's one. I won't give the name, but it's basically, I don't know if you can see this stuff, it's a very soft, goopy, heavily perfumed stuff, and it's basically Vaseline, maybe a little wax to stiffen it, and some perfume. Now, other types, like what I'm going to be using with my mustache today, which is also technically a hair care product, is extremely stiff. You can see I've been working at one edge of this, and it is absolutely solid stuff. It doesn't really give very much. And for the kind of mustache that I have, that gives me a nice structural basis. Depending upon how elaborate your stash is, and of course the style you're choosing, you have a wide variety of possible products, and you're going to have to experiment a little bit and find one that really works best for you. Because mine, loops around twice and is fairly stiff, I need a very stiff product. And this one, you can see, will definitely do that. Using the wax is pretty simple. It's slightly more elaborate than using the water-soluble stuff. The advantage to the waxy type is that it never dries. It's a soft, squishy paste. It stays that way. When you put it on, you smooth it through the bristles, and while you can shape it and mold it to your heart's content, if somebody grabs hold of your mustache or if it gets tangled on the wires of your Walkman, you can really just kind of straighten it out again. The other nice thing about this wax is because it is wax and a kind of an oil or a Vaseline, it's waterproof. So if you live in a very damp climate, or if you are going out on a very rainy day, thinking of you guys in Scotland, this stuff may be a better choice because it's not going to absorb the water the way the water-soluble type does, because in a strong rainstorm it'll get wet and begin to unravel. But anyway, enough talk about mustache wax. Let's get to it. To start, of course, make sure your fingers are dry and your mustache is dry, and that you have a mustache, of course, or at least really bushy eyebrows. Now, to use the wax, you scrape a little bit off on the back of your fingernail. Get a reasonable sized blob on your fingernail, like that. If you use the tip of your finger, it's just going to get under your nails and be very messy, but just scrape it off on the back of your fingernail and just transfer it to your fingertip, and then smooth it right through the bristles, same pretty much as we did with the other wax. Now, the waxes that tend to work best for the mustache, besides stiffness, have a little stickiness to them, at least for mine, because mine has to loop around on itself, and the waxes naturally tend to be a little stickier. The water-soluble mustache wax will dry hard. And just grab a little extra wax, just as with last time, making sure I get the wax down in the root to give my stache a nice stiff base work here to support the curl so it doesn't flop forward as I'm talking. If you're just putting a little horn on the end of your mustache, you can use all kinds of products and you'll be pretty well done. But if you want to go for something a little more sculptural like mine, you got to make sure you put the wax in completely. Now the nice thing is, with the water-soluble wax, if I stop here to talk to somebody, it's going to harden after a while, and if I wait too long, it's going to be difficult to style. This is always going to stay soft and oily, and I can style it anytime I want, now or later, and I can restyle it if I need to. And it can be very convenient that way. I will warn you though, with this wax, since it is a little bit stiffer and stickier going on, you may find that as you're smoothing it through the mustache, sometimes hairs will come out, and that can be a little frightening the first couple of times, but don't worry about it. For most guys, the hair on your mustache is actually a little more like your eyebrows. It'll grow to a certain length, and then the particular hair cells actually turn off, and they just stay at that length, and they go through a dormancy period where they actually kind of fall out and are replaced by new hairs. So if you're smoothing the wax through the mustache and you just find hairs kind of painlessly popping out and appearing on the tips of your fingers, mine was pretty good today, didn't do that, it's no problem, they're going to grow right back. If you find the wax is so sticky that as you're pulling through the mustache it's painfully pulling out hairs, choose a different product, excuse me. Obviously, use a little common sense here, but you probably noticed that this curled in just about as quickly as the last one did. Very fast, very painless, and the nice thing about it now is it's done. Don't have to wait for the wax to dry. If it's rainy out today, and in fact it is, it won't be affected by the rain. In very hot weather, it may sometimes get a little soft and droopy. It's also a little bit oily and a little sticky. So if you're going out on a first date, and a girl wants to touch your mustache, and of course they always do, they always say, oh, can I touch that? Some girls will claim to be a little bit put off by the oiliness. I don't worry about it too much. It's if they're wearing lipstick, they can't complain about an oily mustache, and it's not oily, greasy. It's a little waxy, and they will appreciate the panache and the style and the bravery you have for wearing this thing. So there you have it. This is the pomade style of mustache wax. Now, one other thing I'll tell you about this, which is how to get it out of your mustache, because it's waterproof. And with the water-soluble wax we talked about earlier, it'll wash right out with water. Use some water or go in the shower, it'll wash out really easily. Because the pomade is waterproof, it can be slightly more difficult to get out of your mustache, and you may find if you don't wash it out completely, it'll leave a little bit of a waxy residue, and after a couple of days or a couple of weeks, if that waxy residue is in there, it may make it harder to style your stache. The trick is, and it's a pretty simple trick, you get a little bit of oil, either baby oil, or if you don't like baby oil, you can find clear mineral oil, which is basically baby oil but colorless and flavorless, and apparently some people drink it as a laxative, but you can use it on your skin, and or pretty much any other kind of oil. I would guess even Vaseline would work, and you take a little bit of it and you just work it right through the mustache wax, and the oil will combine with the wax, and then you can use soap and water and it will come out very easily and very cleanly, ready to style with that wax or any other. And of course, when you're absolutely done with everything, you may have a little wax on your fingertips when you've styled your mustache. So wipe off the excess on a little bit of paper towel or a towel, because there's a lot of wax there, and then use the nail brush and a little bit of soap to get off the rest, and your fingers will be dry and oil-free, and you'll be ready to go about your day. Hope that answered all your questions. Stay tuned for more mustache videos. We've got a lot of questions to answer and a lot of things we want to share with you. I do, it's the royal we, and I plan to share these with you in the next upcoming videos. Thanks so much for your time. Don't forget to email me. I'd love to see photos. Love to post them on my website if you want me to. And happy to answer any questions. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.